Hi, my name is Tom Kupchak, and welcome to Learning Splunk. Let me tell you a little bit about myself and this course that we're going to be doing about Splunk. So, I've been working with Splunk for quite a while now, and in my day job, I am the Director of Technical Operations at Hurricane Labs, a Splunk partner based out of Cleveland, Ohio, in the United States. I have over 6 years of Splunk experience working with a variety of Splunk environments for our clients, both big and small, all over the world. And I focus on Splunk implementation, Splunk enterprise security implementation, and also do Splunk consulting work. So let's talk a little bit about this course. One of the things that I wanted to do when creating this course is to create an experience that gives you the opportunity to learn Splunk, but doesn't necessarily require you to already have a Splunk environment. All too often, a lot of the Splunk classes that I have seen don't focus on Splunk administration. They assume you have Splunk and show you some of the searching components of Splunk. I want to do that a little differently. I wanted to give you an opportunity to learn Splunk, but also learn how to get started with Splunk, how to build a basic Splunk environment, and also get some exposure to some of the administrative tasks that I end up doing on a daily basis. And I feel like this is a good approach to not only help you understand how to use Splunk and be familiar with it, but also get a better sense of some of the data that you're getting into Splunk and why someone might want to use it. So this course is going to walk you through the process of installing and using Splunk. And because I'm not requiring you to have a Splunk environment, we first need to start out with creating that. So in the beginning of this course, we'll build a Splunk instance that you'll use for the lab activities in this course. So you go from having no Splunk to having some Splunk. As part of this process, I'm going to share some of the terminology and get you familiar with various Splunk definitions that you'll use throughout the course. From there, we'll talk about data onboarding, how to get data into Splunk, how to use that data, and how to make it searchable. And that's really the whole point of having Splunk. If you just have Splunk and don't have any data in it, it's kind of pointless. So that really gets to the point where you're having some value out of having data. Next, we'll talk a little bit about data normalization and the Splunk Common Information Model. Essentially, how we take the data that we put into Splunk and make it more usable. And then finally, we'll try to get value out of our data, and we'll learn how to do some searching and reporting. Some of the stuff that you might see in some other courses focused around Splunk, but this is really relevant because it's using the data that you've brought in related to your Splunk instance itself. And I think that this is a kind of unique approach, and it gives you a good exposure to the whole process of going from thinking about deploying Splunk to ultimately bringing data in, installing Splunk, using it, and everything you need to do as a Splunk administrator. So as I stated, you don't have to have any previous Splunk experience or knowledge. That's what this course is for. I am going to be using a Linux system for all of the data activities and the lab activities, so it's good to have some familiarity with using the Linux CLI. However, I've tried to walk you through this process so that it shouldn't be too much of a challenge if you haven't touched the command line before. You might just need to pause and look at some of the steps I'm doing a little bit more carefully if you're not familiar with the processes. Now, in order to complete the lab activities, you'll need a few things. You're going to need a Splunk account, and you can get this at Splunk.com and just sign up for that. You'll need that in order to download Splunk, the trial edition that we'll be using, as well as some of the Splunk apps that we'll be using. You'll also need a Linux machine, and that's where we'll actually install Splunk. And you'll definitely want to use Linux in order to follow along with the lab activities. So you can use a VM, a virtual machine, or a cloud instance, such as one in AWS. Either will work. Although I would say if you follow the steps that I've done in this course, using AWS will give you the results that are most consistent in accordance with what I'm doing as well in the lab activity. You'll also need SSH access to that Linux system so that you can install software on it. Like I said, all of my examples will be based on an AWS instance. In this case, the Linux distribution I'll be using is Ubuntu. If you don't use that combination, you still should be able to complete the lab activities. The process might just be a little bit different. So a couple other things regarding this course. This is not an official Splunk class, and you won't get a Splunk certification. However, this is good exposure to Splunk and will provide a good foundation for some of the other Splunk classes that you'll be doing. Splunk Fundamentals are some of the classes that this is based on. You also have some searching and reporting topics that are covered in some of the more advanced classes, as well as some relevant Splunk administration topics. But there isn't a Splunk course that combines this amount of knowledge into this amount of time. So enough of me talking with the intro. Let's dive in and get started with this course. I'm looking forward to working with you through this process.